Welcome to Unscripted Pivots. I am your host, Danielle Sproles. Today, we're going to meet Jessica Quesada, the powerhouse behind Div Industrial, straight out of Irvine, California. Founded in 2022, Div Industrial has quickly made its mark, offering unparalleled solutions in both commercial and industrial real estate and logistics. At the heart of this impressive firm lies the formidable experience of Jessica. From property manager to VP and now co-founder of her own game-changing industrial real estate firm, Jessica's journey into commercial real estate. I'm going to start it over, Kyle.
Okay.
From property manager to VP and now co-founder of her own game-changing industrial real estate firm, Jessica's journey in commercial real estate is straight up goals. Oh, and she was recently named a 2023 Woman of Influence by Globe Street. Pretty cool, right? Dive in with us as we chat with Jessica about all things real estate. Jessica, welcome to Unscripted Pivots.
Hi. Thank you for having
Hi.
me. I'm excited.
Oh no, you know what, when we met, so just to give our listeners some background, I had the benefit of seeing Jessica on a panel discussion in a commercial real estate setting twice. Once when she was with a different firm and then just recently. And both times I just thought, I have to know this woman. So I invited her to lunch and we got to chat and I got to know her a little bit more. And, you know, it goes to show the purpose of this podcast is to really uncover who the woman behind all the success is. And it was such a delight to get to know Jessica a little bit better. And I am so excited to have you here and just talk about all things real estate and beyond and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's my pleasure.
So there you are. You are one busy woman traveling constantly around the country
Yeah, we
with
are.
Div Industrial and all the
Yeah.
goals that, you know, you've employed in just a short time. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about like what's happening right now. And I know you have a
Sure.
couple projects already underway and
Yeah.
it's only been a year.
Year, I know. It's been a crazy year.
So,
We launched Div Industrial last year, myself and my business partner. Launched last summer. And in that short time, we have gone under contract on our first project that we own outright, which is out in the Las Vegas market in Henderson. And then we are due to close on our second project in the Phoenix market in Goodyear. In the next 45 days. So it's been a crazy year. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, a lot faster than we thought the company would take off. But it's an exciting time in industrial real estate, especially in the Southwest market, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Well, you've been networking all your life, right?
True.
So
Yeah.
have the principals in your firm. So
Absolutely.
you're leveraging those relationships and the reputation that you both, well, more than both, there's a few of you that are principals that you have earned. But you're talking about a fast-paced beginning, right? But
Yeah.
come on. You're used to fast pace, Jessica. I mean, if we look at just the last 3 years of your life, okay, tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about all that's occurred and how it's gone down
the
because we
personal
got
and the
some
professional.
we got some juice here. It's
Yeah.
a little juicy. Yeah.
So
No, it's
I'll
great.
say also in that last year, got married to my business partner. So in in the span of a year, we launched a business, then got married. I became a stepmom to 3 kids in that time. So it was,
Can you
starting
imagine?
a business,
Yeah.
get married, instant family. And so now juggling like so many balls that I didn't even know, I could do at the same time. And to your point about relationships, just going back to that, absolutely. Like the thing I love most about the 2 deals we're doing right now and just our company in general, neither property was on the market for sale. Every single project, almost everything we've looked at, honestly, has come to us from broker relationships, right? So it's relationships that myself, my partner, we've built just in the industry, and they've come to us and said like, hey, we know you guys are starting out. We know you guys are, can be creative. Take a look at these few things. They're off the market. Are you interested? And almost every single time we've been like, yes, like we're absolutely interested. So it's definitely a relationship business, to your point. And yeah, personal and professional. And I think we blur those lines in a way that we actually really enjoy, right? When we're getting together with our brokers, we're talking about family and talking about life. We're not just saying like, tell us about the market or what's going on. It's like, hey, how's your family? Like, how was your vacation? So it's really, personally and professionally, it's all kind of blended together to be kind of what it is now, which
that's
is super
terrific,
fun.
right? Because
Yeah.
really, when you take what is your package deal as a married couple, as co-founders of Div Industrial, and then you bring out that synergy and persona to the clients, you're actually humanizing the interaction
100%.
with them, and you're letting them see they're being seen in a unique way, right? So it's not just so cut and dry. And I think that probably has elevated your success as quickly as it's been occurring. So, I mean, I think that's the coolest thing. But,
No, I totally
that's
agree
been
with
the
you.
last couple of years, right? Now you've become a mom, you've become a wife, you've become a co-founder of a thriving business, right? You're going to have to
very
share some
quickly.
secrets.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly visit, because we love to talk about unscripted pivots on this podcast, right? Hence the name. And I don't think it was always that real estate was your calling, right? And
Yeah, it
so
wasn't.
behind every successful individual, we have a why behind their career choice. And what I want to know from you today, Jessica, is why did you decide to delve into commercial real estate? Where was the pivot that it happened there?
Yeah, so if I go all the way back, I grew up here in Southern California in Orange County. Wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do after high school, decided to go to junior college for a couple years. I fell into a fashion merchandising program of all things, which I absolutely loved. I was ready to go. I went to New York. I saw like what Fashion Week was like, and I was just like, okay, this is me. Like, I love school. It's so much fun. Fast forward 2 years, I have a summer job at a property management real estate firm. It was commercial at the time, but I had this summer job. I worked for this woman who I just thought was so dynamic, so polished and professional, and she was just carried herself just like so eloquently. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like I want to be her. Like I just want to be her when I grow up. Like I want to work in real estate. Like she just is confident. She was tall like me. I'm 5'11". So seeing another woman,
You are.
for me, it's like, it can be like, I kind of feel self-conscious about myself. So seeing her just be like tall and confident, I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to be this. So fast forward to the summer, I go to my parents and I'm like, I don't think I want to go back to school. I want to stay working in this business. I enjoy it. I'm making money. My friends were still in school for a couple more years. And meanwhile, I was getting a good paycheck every, then I thought it was an amazing paycheck.
Sure.
Every 2 weeks.
No, but
I loved it.
It was for the age and the time.
I bought my own car. I bought my, my own things. I loved it. And my parents, to their credit, were like, okay, if you're going to work, we're 100% fine with that, but you've got to be working. You can't, just stop going to school and lay by the pool all summer. But they're like, nope, if you're going to work, that's fine. I stayed. I worked for her for almost 3 years and learned so much just about myself and about, working in business, professional setting. I mean, I think it's something that's completely taken for granted now. People coming out of college just don't know how to hold themselves in a professional business lunch or a dinner or any kind of business meeting, right? So I feel like I was learning all these skills. And then long story short, it was a long commute to kind of work with her. And I found a job, which was still property management, but it was in commercial real estate. And I was like, oh, I can kind of transfer this over. And I did. And I went into the commercial real estate side, managing office product. And I did that for, 14 years. From there and kind of
That's a long time. There's a stretch. That's a bit of experience under your belt.
I started as a project coordinator where I was kind of the low person on the totem pole, got my real estate license 6 months later, got promoted, and then just kind of moved on to, kind of more exciting opportunities.
Take a second. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
No, we're going to pause. I always have to pause my guests, okay? I hear and got promoted and got promoted and got promoted. And you say this is rolling off your tongue like this is an everyday experience, okay?
Fair. That's
Let's
totally
just
fair.
Yeah. No, let's celebrate that for a moment. Let's talk about the fact that, you fell into a situation where a woman inspired you, right? And I think that saying applies here where the teacher appears when the student is ready. It wasn't a path that you had charted. In fact, you didn't go to school for real estate or anything like that. And, along those lines, I love to cite quotes on this podcast. There is a prominent Christian teacher, T.D. Jakes, and he said once, "The world is a university and everyone in it is a teacher. Make sure when you wake up in the morning, you go to school." Right? And I love that quote because that is really a testament to that, look, education and diplomas and degrees, I mean, those things have value. I'm not discrediting that. But what I will say is that the experience in life, the ability to learn and stay curious and to really work hard, because when you're saying, and then I got promoted and then I got promoted, that happened, and that's real. And that's because you showed up at your job in life. You were essentially going to life school, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
this is where the changes begin. So there you are in the commercial real estate space, and it's growing and expanding because you're discovering skill sets you probably didn't even know you had early on.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just having, having the ability to be, to your point, open and learn and be, some of my best life lessons honestly came from that first commercial job, right? I learned very early on, one of the very first clients was one of the toughest clients I ever had in my entire life. I learned two things: never lie and never be afraid to say, I don't know the answer. Because this was a person that if you went in there and you tried to BS and you tried to tell him, oh, no, yeah, this is right, he would find out that you did not know what you were talking about so quickly. But if you went in there and said, you know what, I don't know, let me get back to you, he was, okay, no problem. Let me know, and let me know later. That's fine. So those two things, I've absolutely stuck by those two things my entire career. Never being afraid, especially as a woman. It's hard for us sometimes to be the only woman in the room and say, I don't know. But it's so much more valuable to say, I don't know, let me get back to you. And I think people respect that so much more than someone who,
people definitely respect authenticity. And I'll tell you what, the minute that somebody thinks that you're not being authentic, you're on their radar in a bad way. And then everything gets judged, right? So let's talk a little bit about being a woman in commercial real estate, because it's still male dominated, even though there's a growing female population there, right?
Yeah.
So you know what I want to address, because, well, people will be able to see you on the clip. I'm looking at you, and I've gotten to know you. You've already referenced your, what, 5'11"? Yeah, you're 5'11".
With no shoes on, yes.
You are, yeah. I mean, you are tall, beautiful, statuesque. You are all those things. I've met you in person, and I remember my first impression was like, wow, she's really beautiful. You have a presence about you. And that's a great thing as a woman. Is it a great thing in a male-dominated industry, right? Because are they thinking, well, is there beauty and brains? Could this be the full package? Right? I mean, you've probably had challenges around that.
It can get you in the door, but I've always thought too, you have to keep yourself in the room, right? It's what's up here and what's here that you stay in the room for those reasons.
And you probably consistently surprise a lot of people with the depth of your understanding about the market. Not because you by all appearances, and again, the listeners are just listening to this, you look very well educated, like in terms of life experience and everything that you've done. There's nothing ditzy looking about you, but you are beautiful. You're more like model material, right? So not everybody's born with the genetics that you have. Well, but that's the truth, right? I mean, I can say that as a 5'4" and 3/4 size woman, 3/4 and short legs, and it's like I was not blessed with the genetics that you were, but I was blessed in so many other ways, so I'm okay with it.
Of course,
but looking at you, Jessica, you could be like, wow, look, she has it all, and you do have it all. But we had a conversation over lunch, and this was a very surprising fact about you that I did not know, is that you shared with me that you're an introvert. And I thought, well, how could somebody so successful and so beautiful be introvert? Like, if anything, this woman should be overly confident. And you're not. You're not. You're very humble, probably to the other extent. And tell us a little bit about what that's like and what it was like when you were growing up, being an introverted person, and how that could be misconstrued to other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, so being an introvert, and I would even call myself like an extreme introvert, it's interesting. So you couple that with someone who's tall. Growing up, I was, always the tallest person in my class, tallest girl by far. So you couple being an introvert with being tall, people will sometimes look at you and think like, oh, she's aloof, or she's stuck up, or she just doesn't care to know anyone. And that's not true. Walking into a room, whether it's women or men, whatever it is for me, I am not the person who can walk up and just start a conversation with someone, at a cocktail table at a networking event. For me, that is me like sitting in my car for a couple of minutes, almost like psyching myself up to be able to walk in there and be like, okay, you can do this. It's an hour. You can talk to people for an hour, and then you can go home and you can have quiet. So for me growing up, it was always a thing of people actually looked at me and thought like, oh, she's kind of like stuck up, and either my parents or a friend would have to be like, oh, no, she's not that way at all. She's just very, very introverted. And I don't even know if my parents understood at that time kind of that I was that way.
Yeah, maybe not been that term of art, but
but she was quiet and
shy.
liked to
We
do
would have
things
used
on
the
her
word
own.
shy.
She's shy. So it's really interesting. Yeah. And then kind of going through business in that same sense, it's like, okay, I can go to business meetings. I can sit at a table. I can, talk about a deal. I can talk about, women in the industry, whatever it is I'm sitting there talking about. But then honestly, like I'll walk out and it's just kind of like okay, right? Like that drained all of my energy. And I'm so envious of people who are the opposite, who are extroverts, who go to events and are around people and get energy from that. And like, just, it fires them up. And for me, it's just like, okay, like it's done. Like, and it's never that like I didn't enjoy myself, because I'll go to an event, I'm like, oh, that was so great. But it's still just like so draining on me. So to be in a position, even you mentioned the like women in Globe Street, the Globe Street nomination, that kind of thing. Those things for me, even I'm like, no. Like, I don't want to have my face on the front page. I don't want people like seeing me. No, those are not my, it's not my preference to be in that position. I'd rather kind of be behind the scenes. But now in the situation we're in as a business owner, you don't really have that luxury, at least not yet. I don't have that luxury when there's only four of us. So it's hard. But yeah, I think growing up like that, and it actually took me until probably like in my 30s to understand like that's what I was, right? I wasn't aloof. I wasn't, not friendly. She's just very introverted. And so being in these situations, being on panels, sure, I sit up there and I'm like, yes, everything's, I love it. Everything's great. But then afterwards, I'm just like, okay, I'm exhausted,
You're
right?
drained.
It's not that I'm unhappy. It's draining. Yeah.
I can tell you as an extrovert, I'm definitely more extroverted by nature. And we know what we know, right? So I could easily make assumptions that people that aren't are probably, less approachable because they don't want to be approached, because they don't like me, not necessarily because they just don't like the situation. And as I've been speaking to more and more women, not only on this podcast, but just in conversations, I have been very surprised to learn over the last couple of years how many very successful women who are on panels, who have a big voice, who are writing books, and they've really put themselves out there, how draining it is. Yeah. And so I've become informed and sensitive to the fact that what I experience, and I feed off of people. So when I'm in a room, that actually lights me up and it refuels me, to tell you the truth. Not to say I don't get exhausted. I know what that looks like, and I also need to recharge. Sure. But I actually like that thing, and I'm in my comfort zone when I'm doing that I assume that the women who do it well, really like yourself, are doing it with ease, and that's not the case. No. And I think it's really important to get that message out there, because I know of some women, here in Orange County that are highly successful and feel less equipped because it doesn't come natural to them. And the more women that come out like you, that are, big wigs, for lack of a better word, that say, you know what? This is actually hard for me. And if I'm being quiet, it's not because I'm not prepared. It's because it's taking an emotional toll, right? Yes. So it's interesting that you've aligned yourself with your life partner. Okay. So you've co-founded Div Industrial with your husband, Nick. And it's wonderful, because who knows you better than your husband, right? True. And that you can take that professional dance out there, and he will anticipate or feel and react to when it is that you need to step up or step back. And he probably gives you the room to shine when you're not even asking for it, right? I imagine that's probably pretty helpful, that he's not going to, plow over you, because he, I've only seen him a couple of times, and really in professional settings where he is presenting, and he appears to be doing it with some ease. And so, he does, yes. So it's like yin and yang, the two of you. Yeah, he is not an introvert, which is great. And to your point, absolutely. We had a kind of a road show a couple weeks ago, and it was, morning breakfast, afternoon meeting, dinner, morning after, right? It was just every single day was just booked. And he said at the end, he's like, I know that was a lot for you. And I really appreciated that, right? Just at least he didn't even have to say that. It was just, this is our job. This is what we have to do. But the fact that he stepped out and said, like, I know that was a lot for you. Like, when we get home, like, we don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to see anyone or do anything for a day. So for me, that was super helpful, right? To be heard. And it's probably one of the first times in my life, professionally anyway, because I would never go to a boss. I would never go to an employer and say, just so you know, I'm an introvert, right? That's not something I'll ever do, right? I'm never going to put that like crutch on myself. I'm going to go to every meeting they ask me to go to. I'm going to go, I'm going to sit in front of whoever I need to sit in front of and carry myself the same way. So you're never going to put that out there. You're never going to get up on a panel and say, just so you know, I'm an introvert. So I apologize. No, but you know what? But I
once you get to know the
do
person.
think that, well, it's true. But I mean, what I'm gonna call you out on is I think it's really important when we have a certain aspect of ourselves that may not be readily understood, that you're not alone and that you do share that. Not that you begin a
that's true,
panel discussion as you're presenting. Hi guys, I'm an introvert, and you actually like look like you're weakening yourself.
Yes,
but that can always be worked into your conversation so that you know, women can understand that they can have that introverted personality and still be highly successful, and that you're
I would
that
love
you're
for
okay
other
with
women.
it.
I
To
would
know
love
like
for other
that's
women
okay.
who
You're
feel
not
that
alone.
way, right? Yes, and think that like, oh, I can't do this, or I can't get up and speak, or I can't go to this event. Like you can, you know, yes, it's going to be draining for you, but that's fair, right? You're allowed to then feel exhausted after, and that's your own personal, you know, your own personal feeling.
That's right.
I do a lot of
it's
exercises.
about recharging.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the exercises I'll do for myself are a lot about like boundaries, right? And I've learned a lot about that. I know it kind of got buzzy the last couple of years, but I set boundaries in those circumstances, right? Yes, you are going to go, but you don't have to go to the happy hour after, right? You don't have to gang up with a group of people after and keep the party going. You don't have to be that person, but you're going to go, you're going to show up, you're going to contribute, and then so I'll kind of do that for myself, right? I'll say like, you're going to show up, you're going to be at every single event, but you can excuse yourself, you know, later in the night or something like that. So I'll always tell myself that's okay. Like you don't have
celebrate
to be...
Boundaries are so important. And once we recognize where we have to put them in our lives, then the next step really is to honor them ourselves, because it's so easy to renegotiate that, because we can get consumed by, oh, how is this impacting my business world, you know, my company, or, you know, my colleagues, or now your stepchildren, right? So it's about honoring them that keep them consistent and familiar. And I have done that in the last couple of years, and it has been a game changer for me, Jessica, because even as an extrovert, I can go that extra mile. And then just over time, I'm thinking, why am I doing that? Because the quality of the experience starts to suffer. So I'm right there with you. Like, do as much as you can and then pull yourself out. I think that's terrific.
And as a mom, I think you can relate. You want your children, especially daughters, right? You want them to have those experiences and to push themselves, but also to know it's okay to try new things. We're going through that right now. I'm a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old stepdaughter. So we're going through those experiences of like, we want you to try new things, but it's okay to have boundaries while you're doing it, right? You're going to try it and you can come home after. And if you hated it, you could tell me you hated it, right? But I'd love for you to try this.
I don't know. You just said you have, how old are the girls?
12 and 10. 12 and 10.
Okay. Buckle up. Buckle up. Okay. I have, you know, I'm kind of excited.
We were having lunch with a broker. We were having lunch with a broker last week, and he has 2 teenage daughters, and he just looked like he was, you know, just going through it. And I said, as a former teenage daughter, it gets better. I promise you, like, it will get better.
It does. It totally does. And, you know, I want to touch upon that, right? Like, and then, you know, what is it to be a career woman and also a mom, right? Now, these kids are under your care on a consistent basis, and they've really, you know, you're not like, I don't even like the word stepmom. I like to say you're a bonus mom. They get to have one other one. Well, you are. You're a bonus mom, and but you are a mom, and you're stepping right into it. It's kind of cool that you did it by a couple years earlier than when things get interesting, because interesting they get. I have 4 kids, and I think I shared that with you, and a lot of my listeners know there's 4 of them. There was 3 boys in a row, and then the girl. And I thought that I had motherhood down after 3 boys. I had, you know, a track record and some experience. I had 0 of that when I was raising my daughter. Girls are very different than boys, and you know, my daughter started really, you know, kicking my ass probably when she was 14. She just one day turned around and looked at me like she was tolerating me, and you know, it can happen overnight. So if you experience that, don't take it personal, and as you know, that too shall pass. My daughter's 24. She's brilliant. She's just she has all the things I don't have in terms of being very organized and she's just creative. She really is something else. I bring her up because she's also very much an introvert. And for a long time, I could not understand why she couldn't go out and network and the power of networking so that she could grow a career, especially coming from the East Coast, now living, you know, out in LA. And this is the fact of life. And so I am so fascinated. The more women I get to understand, I'm like, That's hard for you? Because it doesn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
Because it's not hard for me, but also because it's like you don't act like it when you're in the presence of. And so she
Totally.
will do great in public settings and then need a day. Okay. And
That's
here's
me.
the thing,
Totally.
that's okay. So the message out there to all the, our WTF ladies is that that's okay if you need to recharge and you're an introvert. Doesn't mean that it has to keep you back from doing the things. If you want to learn how to do, be on a panel, public speaking, all the things that make the average person, including myself, uncomfortable, that all of that is doable. So that's so cool. So let's talk a little bit more about commercial real estate. So with your vast experience in commercial real estate, where do you see the future of industrial real estate heading? And in that regard, how are they positioned in that trajectory?
Yeah, so we're absolutely still super behind industrial real estate. We think, logistics, online buying, all of that is only going to continue and increase. You're seeing so many more stores, your typical stores, your Targets, your Home Depot, your Lowe's. I mean, those stores are still having positive returns. Things are still going forward for them. One of our biggest markets is Phoenix. We love that area. I did, for my job previous to starting Div, I ran leasing and asset management in Phoenix. So I know that market. I love that market. It's probably my favorite to work in.
Is it?
But
Yeah.
the Taiwan Semiconductor, who's the biggest semiconductor maker in the world, has started a plant there. So they're coming to the US. They're bringing suppliers. They're bringing manufacturing. All this just to the market of Phoenix. So Phoenix is booming. Vegas and the suburbs around Vegas are all still booming as well. We're super positive on industrial. We think, with where the banks are right now, things are a little hard when it comes to lending, obviously for us, even on our two current deals.
Yeah.
But we just don't believe there's any way that, e-commerce and logistics are going to go away anytime soon. It's scary when you see what's happening in office. I came out of the office market. I was in Class A office market, and just the exodus of tenants, the exodus of, WeWork, possibly leaving the market completely. Those things are scary. Yeah, it's definitely scary in office, but we see industrial, we see logistics still being a huge player globally.
And at Div, you look at raw land, right? Undeveloped land. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about that. So you're not coming in and and then you're building from the ground up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Tell
so
us
we're not
a little
buying
bit about that business model.
Yeah, so we're not looking at any existing assets. We when we started the company, that we thought we would reposition assets, buy older buildings and kind of revamp them. And then we kind of just shifted towards land, and everything we were seeing, all the deals we were liking that we were seeing were just raw land. So we're buying land, we're entitling that land for industrial, and then we're going through the entitlement in the building process. One thing we're super proud of is everything we build is going to be LEED certified. So we've already partnered with USGBC. Yeah, we've already partnered with USGBC on their LEED volume program. So we have an approved spec through USGBC, just approved maybe a month ago, that as long as we build to those specific specifications, we will have a LEED platinum building. So we might not always build all the way up to LEED platinum just because the market isn't demanding that, especially in industrial yet, but we're absolutely always going to build to likely a LEED gold. And we think that's going to help us attract tenants, better quality tenants.
Absolutely.
And also just be a better neighbor in the communities that we're in, right? We don't want to be an eyesore in any neighborhood that we're in. We want to be, the best building on the block. We want tenants to go to 5 different buildings, but remember our building when they see it, right? We want something to be memorable. We want them to want to come and be our tenant long term.
Sure, you're creating a brand. You have the relationships, and now you're really creating a sustainable brand.
Yeah, and we want it to stand for something.
This is just terrific. And then when I'm thinking back to the panel presentation that you did for Crew, Commercial Real Estate for Women, which we're both members in Orange County, go Crew.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that then you buy the undeveloped land and then you build it all up to specifications. That's no easy process with all the logistics and legalities around getting it entitled. I mean, you do the hard work for sure. And then it really isn't your intention for a long hold, right? So you position it for sale.
Yeah, we want to get those buildings leased as quickly as we can. And then, we would probably, look to sell them shortly thereafter, just so that we can continue to keep doing the same thing, right? We want to build the building up. We want it to have, the LEED specifications. We want it to be, a jewel in the area, if you would, get that lease, get a tenant in there with a good solid lease, and then we'll take that out for sale, and then recycle those profits to buy the next land, whether it's in the same area or in a different market.
All right.
Yeah, that's our preference right now.
What has been the greatest surprise in a joyful way about this project? You're talking about pivoting from thinking you were going to buy existing assets to understanding that the business model was going to shift over to raw land. What was one of the things that occurred? You're like, oh, damn, that's good, you know, and that kind of furthered that.
Yeah, I think the time we saw the first set of renderings from our architect, where it was actually like a building out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, it was like, oh my goodness, like this is a real building, right? I mean, leading up to that, it was literally just, it's a desert out there, right? You've got a mountainside, you've got desert, you've got a highway running through it. It's not even a freeway, it's a highway. But you saw those renderings,
Not
with,
yet,
the
not yet.
landscape, right? The landscape, and the trucks are all there, and there's a gate fence around, you've got signage, all this stuff, and you're like, oh my goodness, you could be driving on the freeway and just drive by and there's nothing. And then you just see this, these beautiful, it's 2 buildings. You just see them right there. It's almost like, you have those like lights going up. So I'd say that. And then 1A, I'd say to that, we drove out there actually 2 weeks ago when I was in Las Vegas, and we have our giant leasing sign up. So that is super cool to see. People are driving on the highway and they're seeing this, Div Industrial available for lease sign. It's black and green. It's our colors. And it was super special. Like, it made it real, right? You have your it's like you have your flag in the dirt finally. Yeah. So both of those things are probably super special.
It's just amazing. You're like imprinting the area, with your creativity, the team at Div Industrial, and it's only just begun. I thank you so much for coming on today, because
thank you for having me. It's been
just
fun.
getting to know you just in this past year has been such a joy, and to learn who you are behind the scenes, right? There's just so many nuances to you that I just think are the coolest thing. And so in the show notes, we'll put how people can get in touch with you, and then perhaps anybody out there who's thinking about leasing some of these properties after they get built, or in the area, or what you're doing, please think of Jessica, think of Div Industrial, and watch this company grow, because grow they are. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Bye.